Back now to South Africa and to KZN, where close to 4,000 homes have been completely destroyed in the KZN floods. Well, that's at least according to a preliminary report by the Provincial Human Settlements Department. There is an expectation that number will increase as we get access to more and more areas as roads are once again open. The province going to get R1 billion to help it recover. It sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? A Human Settlements MEC, Jomo Sibiya. Mr. Sibiya, MEC, good morning to you. R1 billion, though, when we're talking about thousands of people's homes being destroyed and livelihoods destroyed, doesn't go very far, does it? But at least we're moving in the right direction. How happy are you with the money?
Morning, Gareth and the viewers. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I must say, R1 billion won't be enough at all. It won't take us very far. We need at least 1.8 billion to do something that will make a difference in the lives of our people. We are very happy that there is R1 billion that has already been offered by the national government to help the province. But to the destruction that we have in the province, in particular when it comes to houses and shelters of our people, it's just huge. It's something that we've never seen. So we need more money because we need to make sure that currently we've got people who already don't have houses, who are in schools, others are in relatives, others are in neighbors, others don't even have a place to go. So we just need to act very quickly as of today and act and make sure that we bring normalcy into the lives of those people and be agile in making sure that at least come Friday, you see us on the ground constructing and making sure that temporal structures that are decent, that are going to make sure that at least these people, they do have a place to stay. We see it happening. But we need at least 1.8 billion because the total of houses that have been destroyed, some partially destroyed, in the entire province, it's about 13,593 and 11,492 is eThekwini, 3,937 destroyed totally. They need shelter, they don't have anything. Others need to replace their rooftops. So we need to provide temporal shelters, or we call it temporal residential units, the TRUs. We need to provide our people with material. We need to deal with issues of fixing the retaining walls. There's quite a lot. We need to look for land where to take these people, because our biggest problem is that most of our people are having their houses located along the streams, along the flood lines. So we need to change that. We need to make sure that when we build these temporary structures and build houses later on, they are in places and areas where they won't be found wanting when the weather patterns changes, as we have seen it happening currently.
We're going to come back to the issue of land in a moment, MEC, and I'm sure many people will agree with you about the call to move to more high-rise areas, to areas that aren't flood-prone at all. But I just want to get your thoughts, and I imagine if 1.8 billion rand is needed, you support the call for this to be declared a national disaster. What difference would that make? Help me understand the politics.
Definitely. The Premier explained it very well as well yesterday. If the province is declared a state of disaster, then the national government will be able to give us more money. It will be easy for the national government to get more funding and get more money for the province to be able to deal with all the destruction that has happened in the province. So it will be able to make the processes easier. And the more of the funding will be directed to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, understanding that in the entire country, it's in the state of disaster. Then it will help us to move faster and quicker. Because right now, we are reprioritizing our own budget, where already we have committed in some of the projects, and we need to reprioritize for now to make sure that we are dealing with this disaster with speed. But if it's declared the state of disaster, the province, then that will help the national government. It will help us. We'll be able to direct funds towards the destruction and the disaster that we are faced with. It's very important for us if that is done.
MEC, help me understand as well. I've always been curious to get a better understanding of when it comes to the allocation of money. There's R1 billion so far. You're calling for 1.8 billion rand for the rebuilding of homes and shelters, informal shelters, whatever form it takes at this point to get a roof over someone's head. How is it established who gets how much money? I imagine it's a logistical nightmare. How do you begin to do that, knowing some of these houses were in informal settlements, they were in areas where they shouldn't have been built? Who gets how much money?
Indeed, it is a nightmare. I agree with you. Understanding the fiscus and of this country, that it's thinning. We get budget cuts each and every year as provinces and departments, at most for the past 2-3 years. So the budget is never enough. But the billion rand that we are talking about, it's not only directed to human settlements. It's a billion rand that is directed to the province, and Treasury will allocate it to different departments. But the departments themselves, they've been directed to reprioritize their budget to make sure that they are accommodating this disaster, but we prioritize this disaster. And then when it comes to who gets what in terms of allocation, whether it's someone who needs to be built a complete shelter, or it's someone who has his rooftop blown away by the disaster, we are dealing with it in prioritizing, looking at the emergency and the urgency. One, you start with those that are in serious need, and we make sure that quickly you go to them, you move them away, you give them what they need, in particular those who need temporary shelters. Currently, we have prioritized those who are in schools, because schools are opening tomorrow. So you need to make sure that when schools are opening, at least by Friday, schools are cleared and people are having shelters. There are 6 schools in the province, in particular in eThekwini, where the MEC of Education has given us those schools where we need to move those people. But you can't just move them. You need to give them a decent place to stay, and that's where those are the people who are prioritizing. The Premier is directed as that we need to prioritize people who are along the streams, people who are in the steep areas, because you've seen mudslides and landslides that have happened and washed away everything that people
and
have.
those are the visuals we're looking at the moment, MEC. I mean, that's exactly what you're describing, vehicles being swept away. Help me understand the reported shortage of building materials. There seems to be a lot of plans in place. The money seems to be there, but if you don't have access to the building materials, this is going to be difficult to do. As you say, by Friday is the aim. But there's reports of building material shortages. What's the latest on that? What are you going to do?
You've said it all. You've said it all. We are coming from COVID-19, where it was not easy for this country to import building material. We had the unrest in July that collapsed the economy of this province. In particular, there was a shortage of material. But we've got a plan already, because we've been working since this disaster started. The EXCO of the department, the cabinet has been working. We are engaging some of the manufacturers, even in Gauteng, to help us to bring down the material, to make sure that the temporary residential units that we're building, because it's not necessarily like it's just something that is of poor standard. It's a decent temporary residential unit that we are building for our people. So it needs material. We've only got 2 manufacturers in the province. We have engaged some in Gauteng to at least set up some warehouses in the province, so that we won't have a situation where we run short of material. Already we have planned ahead. We understand it so well that we are going to be in need of more material, and it's in action. The plan is moving.
And just before I let you go, MEC, you'll be well aware, and you won't be surprised by my question at all, when we're talking about R1 billion, possibly 1.8 billion rand oversight. There's a big mistrust about this money going missing, money being used for something that it's not meant to. What are the assurances you can give South Africa this morning this money is going to get used for what it's meant to?
It's a valid question, and it's what people are talking about. We can't ignore that. But one thing I can tell you, the president has given us a clear line of march. The premier has given us a clear line of march. But in our conscience as MECs, we've got an understanding of what we need to do. We can't continue being known as the government that is mismanaging funds. I can assure you, to us, this is a second disaster in a year. December, January, we had a disaster in the province. There was not a single mismanagement of funds that happened. And I can assure our people, and we want our people to be patient with us. We're pleading with them to look at us doing their work. This is their money. Not a single cent will go unaccounted. We'll account for each and every cent. We want to make sure that we change the picture. We change what is known as normalcy, where funds are mismanaged. We are a government that is moving away from such things. We are committed towards service delivery and making sure that each and every cent goes to where it's supposed to be going, and we'll account for that. I'm putting my head on the block. The premier is watching us, the president is watching us, but the country is watching us. And we are going to make this country proud and make sure that we move with speed, there's efficiency, but also there's accountability.
And Mr. Sibiya, I'm sure you know we'll also be watching you as well, but no doubt this is hopefully the plan and hopefully we stick to it as well. But I appreciate your time. A lot of valuable information coming out of that discussion with Human Settlements MEC, Jomo Sibiya, here on ENCA.